And we're live with the one and only Eric Fuller. How are you, man?
What's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? I'm good. I'm good.
Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the drinks.
Yeah, anytime, man. You know, we try to take care of our podcast guests as best we can, you know?
Yeah, I like it. Cool little office, too. Cool little studio you have. I like it. Good vibe.
Yeah, we're still working on it. We got a bunch of stuff we got to put up on the back walls and everything, so we're getting there slowly but surely.
Hey.
You know, I've known you for maybe like a little over a year now.
Yep.
And you've had quite the journey over the past year with a change in your job and everything. But before we kind of dive into that, why don't you tell the people that are going to be listening and watching on YouTube a little bit about yourself, your history and event planning and kind of how you got your start in that, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess I got my interest in events really in college. Like everybody else, it's where you kind of find your passion and your groove per se. So, I was attending school at the University of North Florida, which is in Jacksonville, and just started throwing events there. And one thing led to another, and studying business, kind of was able to. I was able to put those two things together and kind of make something out of it. So, started with small like college events and booking DJs and artists, and then. Also at that time we started this party called Dayglo, which was
epic.
Yeah.
Epic. I remember one at Syracuse, a little shit show.
Yeah. So, started with that concept, and one thing led to another, and really made a business out of it. And here I am today.
What made you, when you were throwing parties at North Florida and, you started conceptualizing, something a little bigger than, just a local college party? Like, what made you come up with the idea to, have a bunch of college kids throw a bunch of paint around? Yeah,
so the concept originated at Florida State University.
Of course it did.
Yeah, which is fitting.
Yeah. Party nation.
Yeah, so there's a fraternity there that was organizing. It was really like a private event, but my roommate at the time, this guy Kyle Head, he kept talking about, there's this epic paint party, like you should bring it here to Jacksonville. So I reached out to those guys, guy by the name of David Turk, and I said, hey, look, like mainly I just want to shut my roommate up, but let's bring the party here. It looks like a good time. So we did. I paid him a couple $100. He came over, brought a bunch of paint, and I guess kind of the rest is history.
That's crazy. So what would you really say is the thing, knowing that there's so many different parties and events going on, what was that thing that really separated you guys from the rest and really made you guys stand out amongst all parties, and events going on out there? Like, what was that thing that just really made you guys pop?
Well, it's important to know that there's other people obviously behind the brand, but I think what really made it pop was just like it was so outside of the box. So there was a group of guys at Florida State who attended my event, my Dayglo event, and they're from Miami.
Go figure.
Yeah, this guy Sebastian Solano, Paul Campbell, and then Lucas, and then his twin brother Patrick, which you guys all know. So they were the ones that really had this idea to take the party and bring it on like a mass scale. Like Sebastian was really into this brand Sensation. So he kind of looked at the event as like, okay, here's a concept. There's the business of Sensation White. We can duplicate this all over the state. And then from the state, it led to, venturing out into different cities. And then eventually, we went from other states to really all over the world. So I think that what made it pop was just thinking outside of the box, like not really having any boundaries per se. It was just a all-in production we were booking, artists and music that were kind of new to a lot of people, which for a lot of people outside of South Florida, electronic music was not as relevant. It wasn't as popular. So I think that, just that overall, there was no limitations on it. And I think that's what made it pop eventually. So
I truly love that. I love everything you said and what made that pop. So I think we can all agree here that with every success comes problems and failures along the way. I would definitely love to hear about some of those obstacles that you faced throughout this, successful journey or successful result that you got out of the journey you created, especially for our listeners today who, might be struggling with certain things, especially being entrepreneurs. How was that for you, and how did you overcome those issues to be able to create that success?
That's a great question. Look, I think anybody who is starting a business, you're going to have some adversity. It's hard to say, like, I couldn't pinpoint one thing other than, surround yourself with good people and just know that something is probably going to happen. When it does, it's really important to just stay calm, take a step back, and figure it out. It's really nothing more than a problem. And what do you do with problems? You solve them. So I would say, yeah, that's my best advice is just, take it step by step. Don't overreact. A lot of people tend to, I've learned that in my career, a lot of people tend to react really quickly and they make like a knee-jerk reaction, and sometimes that can make the problem even worse. I know with Life in Color, for example, with Life in Color, it used to be called Dayglo. Yeah. And, the backstory to that was there was actually a paint company, that the actual paint called Dayglo. And they had been in business since,
wow,
I don't know, the 60s. So we were selling paint with the Dayglo brand on it, which we had the trademark to. So we later got a letter from their attorney saying, like, listen, you guys have been violating our trademark, the Dayglo paint brand, and we consulted with our attorneys, and they're like, look, you need to change your name. So, that's a perfect example of business is going great. We're hitting on all cylinders. We couldn't keep up with growth. And then, bam, here's this situation. And I remember, some of us thought, like, this is the end. Some of us thought, like, this is a great opportunity. So everyone had a different perspective on it. But it was a problem, and we solved it. And we actually used that to pivot into a new name, Life in Color, which, turned out to be a perfect name and turned into
I went to a few of those.
Yeah, it turned into a phenomenal brand.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that for people that are listening is just look, like, take it easy, calm down, take a few breaths. If you have mentors, tap into them. But don't make a knee-jerk reaction unless you absolutely have to do that.
Love that advice.
And how was the rebranding when you switched the name from Dayglo to Life in Color? Because, even at the time, Dayglo was big. Everyone knew what Dayglo was, especially in the college scene.
Yep.
So how easy or difficult was it for you guys to, pick up that traction again, having, shifted in a different direction with the branding that you had to go with based on, the circumstances you were given?
It was definitely, well, first of all, we had a guy, one of the founders, Lucas, the twin brother to Patrick. He was just a marketing genius. He still is. The kid comes up with some of the greatest ideas. So he really, I think we put a lot of faith into him, but, it wasn't, I think the takeaway was, like, we took the negative and flipped that into a positive. So we said that, we used to have a tour concept for every tour. So it'd be like Dayglo presents the Blue Tour, or Dayglo presents whatever in 3D, just as an example. So what we did is we said Dayglo, the Life in Color tour. And then the following tour, we put out a bunch of press about we're rebranding the name, and then people were a little more familiar with the name Life in Color at that point. So, I think I would say, looking back on it, it felt like a really difficult process, and it felt like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. But in reality, we had the momentum, and it worked out okay.
How was it for you specifically, going to these events that you guys were throwing and seeing how many people were enjoying them, and what kind of emotions went through your mind at maybe like the first Life in Color after you guys rebranded it? And you're seeing, I mean, I've been to a couple of them and there's 20, 30, 40,000 people. There's a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously, it's been, over a year since I've been with the company. None of the original, our original team is a part of the company anymore. So I really don't even know what's going on with the brand today. But I think it was really, you're like in the heat of it all and things are moving so fast. But there are definitely nights where, you'd step back and you say like, wow, like we created something, and seeing the reactions from people all over the world. Like that was one of my favorite parts of it. Was I could go to, China, I could go to Paraguay, Miami, Los Angeles, and the reaction was always the same. People were having a great time. It was a chance for them to kind of, escape reality for a moment. And I think that's something I really enjoyed more than anything, was just, it'd be 2:00 in the morning or 1 at night. We're almost done with the show, and you can kind of relax at that point. Like you made your money, everyone's safe, it's almost over, and you can just, there's like a moment of, and you can just feel the weight come off of your body. And that's when you start to notice and appreciate the things. So I think that was probably it, is, seeing people really just from all different cultures really enjoy it.
I love that you brought that up, because it's one of those things where, me and Josh talk about before. It's like, especially Josh knows I'm a huge believer in making your dreams come true and creating that vision for yourself. And, me and Josh have these conversations, and I just want to know, from that experience of you creating this, a dream for yourself, something that, a lot of people have difficulty in being able to do something that they've always wanted to do in their life due to, whether it's past experiences or family telling them something, or friends, or their situation. What's your biggest piece of advice for those people, about going after their dreams? What would you tell them, right now that they should be doing so they can go out there and live that, so they don't live in at the end of their life in regret?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many deep layers to that question. Well, I think the way you ended that question is really should be the motivation, is like, listen, we're not here for, an infinite amount of time. I think COVID's kind of reminded us all of how fragile things are. Mm-hmm. So I think that should be motivation enough. It wasn't for me early on, but I do think that it's really important to just be completely like honest with yourself. Like understand who you are as a person. Are you an inherent risk taker? Are you a little more conservative? I think that's just, why I say that, because I think it'll help you frame kind of what's coming for you. And look, it's not for everybody, but I always say that if I do my homework, so I look at the concept or the vision or the business, and I do my homework. I really dive in, and then I look at some of the like non-tangible things, what's going on in my gut, like how do I feel about it in my heart? And if that stays in my head for, a period of time, I go for it. I don't let fear stop me from my intuition and my homework. So I think, the takeaway from that is just understand what type of person you are, do the homework, and if it's there in your gut and your heart and the homework makes sense, go get it. And I think one thing to note, it's really important, you've probably heard this from a lot of different, entrepreneurs and businessmen and women, is it's not going to happen overnight. I think that's one thing that people get deterred. They don't know how to start. And I think that like what you guys are doing right now is a perfect example. Like I'm sure there's an end goal here. Maybe there's not. It looks like you're really enjoying this, which is, why you're doing it. But you got to take the first step. You got to start. You have to say like, okay, here's the end goal, or here's what I think the end goal is going to be, because that's another thing. You never know how it's going to end.
That's true.
It's always different than what you thought.
Yeah, so just take the first step, like write the business plan. Okay, am I selling something? Go sell something. Am I building a product? Design the product. Like, you can kind of drag out a million little things that you can do and start there.
I love that you brought up about, knowing that, things can shift along the way. Me and Josh have talked about, our different situations, and, even then, knowing that this is our end goal, that people need to understand that, you can have your vision. You might think that your path is going this way, but it might take you another way. Just remember to keep your eye on that vision. So it doesn't really matter necessarily how it's going to take you. Life is going to maneuver you through it. But just remember to always keep fighting for that goal.
Yep.
Because you will get there. Another quick thing, out of your core group that started with Dayglo, Life in Color, who was the biggest risk taker? Who was the more conservative ones?
No doubt Sebastian was the risk taker, for sure. I mean, he was really it's cool how life works, but, he was definitely the guy that was like, we got to go bigger. We got to do this. We got to put more production. I was definitely more on the conservative side, where I'd say, okay, well, like, let's put a budget together, where he would just be like, okay, we'll figure that out later.
It sounds like
that's
Yeah.
Sounds like, he's like, yeah, we'll do it. I'm like, no, man. Like, but there's a plan.
Yeah.
There's a plan that we got to make
and
and
I'm
follow.
always like, bro, this is where we gotta be. This is what I'm
Yeah.
picturing.
I'm like, all right, let me try to figure out the fucking 500 steps it's going to take us to get through this.
Yeah, I think Paul Campbell, you guys might know him. He's, he knows everybody in South Florida, but he's, he's also a bit of a risk taker, where, he was more in depth. Like, you could spend hours talking with him about 20 different situations that guaranteed you weren't thinking about any of them. So I would say, yeah, it was definitely Sebastian. He was the perfect guy for the company, and the brand, because he had the balls to do these things that we were like, weren't even on our mind. So, yeah.
I think that's super important, though, for any successful company, right? Is that whether it's the people that are owning the business together or the team that you put around you, is, finding those people that shore up your weaknesses and you shore up their weaknesses, like we were just mentioning Anthony.
Who's the risk taker of you two? Like, you guys kind of laughed at that moment.
He definitely, I would say, is more willing to, right out the bat, just kind of jump into something and say, okay, I'll figure it out on the fly. Whereas I'm like, okay, but let me, take a month and then plan it through, and then, no, I can't do that. Like, all right, let me.
I'm one of those. I'm just like, I have this whole thing now where I'm like, instead of ready, set, go, I'm like, go, set, ready.
Yeah.
And I'm just like one of those two, like, sell it before you create it.
Yeah, I mean,
create urgency.
Some
on
people
yourself.
are that way. I think it goes back to what I said earlier. Understand who you are as a person. Like,
for sure.
That, if that works for you, great. I mean, I've seen a lot of people with that mindset make it, and I've seen them fail as well. And then I've seen the calculated ones make it and fail. So I don't know what the verdict is on that, like what's better, but I'm a big believer in balance. So it sounds like, you guys kind of balance each other out.
Yeah, quite a bit, actually, quite a bit more than I think most people understand.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's always like a little game of tug of war between us, like, okay, we got to do, he wants to do 50 different things. I'm like, okay, great, but like, we got to do this one first, and then we got to work, and then now that'll connect here, and then that'll connect here. So I kind of let him be like the visionary, and then I'm just kind of like the chess master trying to move things around.
Hey, that's good. I mean, that's a great.
We make
it's
it
a winning
happen.
formula.
Yeah. I mean, I think my 10 years, working in athletics, like super process oriented. Everything's on a schedule, on a timetable, and he kind of took a little alternative route to get to where we're both at today. So it's been interesting, working with Anthony. I mean, I've known him 6 years now, so like the back of my hand, I can close my eyes and I know what he's going to say.
Right.
It's good. I mean, that's a wonderful type of relationship to have, when you can, finish each other's sentences, and also be able to challenge one another and not be offended by it. I think that's also really cool.
Especially nowadays, right? I feel like everyone's always offended about everything.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that statement. Everyone seems to, again, back to what I said earlier, knee-jerk reaction is never a good thing. It's different if you're like in the middle of a street fight, react, but for the rest of it, calm down.
It's like I always say, don't let the emotion feed into whatever decision you're going to be making.
Yeah.
You gotta sit back for a sec, let those emotions settle down, and then make your true intentional decision that you would make from your morals.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That can leak into the process and not always be a good thing.
So I want to bring up, I know that you had mentioned at the beginning, and kind of talking about, the differences and how we make it work and stuff like that. I know you said, having your core group of friends or who you surround yourself with is highly important. We talk about that all the time as well.
Yeah.
How was it that you guys got together? How is it that you knew that you guys were a fit and this was like the team? Like, how did that happen? How did you guys meet? And from there, how did that come into fruition?
So I was, like I said, I brought these kids from this fraternity. I was probably a year into it, doing parties before really anyone else was, aside from this one at Florida State, the one at the fraternity. So I started booking Sebastian's brother, David Solano, who's a producer, DJ.
Epic.
He doesn't, I don't think he doesn't produce much anymore, but I was booking him for my parties, and that's how I built a relationship, was really through that. And then they started doing shows. I don't even know where, like other places outside of Jacksonville, and mine was just getting bigger and bigger. We hit and I had a business partner as well, this guy named Evan. And I think at one point we hit 2,000 tickets, which is incredible at that time. So I was building a relationship with the Sebastian, over this period. And I actually, right when I graduated, I moved to Europe. So I was flying home once a quarter to do my parties, and then I'd, put my money in my bank account and I'd go back to Europe. And when I was there, I was like, this party can happen in Spain. Like, I should do this. So I actually found a warehouse and had a venue, and I reached out to, I remember the phone call. I called Sebastian. I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this party in Europe. And he was like, man, things are blowing up over here. I have a plan. I have a vision for that. Come back here to the U.S. and let's just all work together. Join the team. Let's do this. So I really didn't think much more of it. I think literally the next 2 days I booked a plane ticket home and moved to South Florida and just dove right in. And that was it.
It's crazy how things happen, right?
Yeah.
A pinch poke, give me a Coke. From the early days of Dayglo and Life in Color to, now doing huge parties down here in Miami, with massive DJs like Chami and, Tiesto, David Guetta, all these guys. When you guys were starting out, did you see, I know it's a different company now, doing all the promotion work and event planning for the parties that we have down here. But did you personally see yourself getting to this point? Did you have that vision? If not, what was the vision that you had originally?
To be honest, no, I didn't. I always wanted to be successful. I've always been an entrepreneur. I had started a website in college, a book trading website. And, I had my own company and while I was in school, the promotional company. And so I always knew, at the end of the day, I wanted to be successful. I just didn't really know what that was going to look like. But no, I just kind of took it day by day, it just kind of all happened, and I worked really hard. And one day you look up and you're like, wow, okay, there's this opportunity, there's that opportunity. in a way, you kind of feel like you have accomplished something. So it just happened through a lot of hard work and I can't say I had like an exact, by the time I'm X years old, I want this to happen. It just went after it and it all worked out.
I mean, it goes back to what you were talking about, with preparation. In the age of social media, everyone thinks that, you can just become an overnight success, but no one really looks at all the hard work and all the planning and all of the, the late nights and lack of sleep. And is there something that, you could tell to the people who are listening, like if they are kind of going through and having the struggles of like, man, this is a lot of work. This is, I don't know if I can continue down this path, but I know I have something good. Is there like a piece of advice that you can give our listeners to like, keep them motivated, keep them going, through the tough times?
Yeah, again, I don't know the exact situation, but I'm a big fan of pausing and evaluating. So if you're in a situation where you have a company or a product and it's moving, and you feel like you need some help, pause and figure that out. I couldn't say an exact solution to that other than there's a lot of, whether it's bringing on, a partner or a strategic partner, or maybe you have a great product that just you can't seem to get the cost, license it. There's, and I think that's what's really cool about today. Like looking back at when I was in school, Facebook was just there. Like we didn't have podcasts that you could listen to things like I didn't know they existed. There were books. I'm in college. Like I'm reading what I have to read, and
that's it.
I'm partying and I'm going after my business. Like that's what was in my mind. So I think one cool positive of social media is that there's guys like you that are out here, putting out content that kids can relate to, and they can easily watch it on their phone or listen to while they're walking. I have a little brother. He's 20 years old. So
my sister's 22. So
it's crazy, but this, like, he stays with me almost every summer. He didn't this summer because of COVID, but he always stays with me. And I'm just like blown away at his maturity and the way he eats. He works out every day. He makes straight A's, like the complete opposite of what I'm like, what are you doing with your phone? He's on YouTube watching, motivational speakers, successful businessmen and women. And that was not there for me at that age. So I think that's what's cool is that, there are these, just feels like infinite resources out there that you can tap into. So if you have a problem, to people that are listening, there's probably somebody out there who's been through it. Reach out to them. Don't be afraid to ask. That's, your answer might lie in their answer.
I love that you brought that up about, resources. And I know we can all agree on, us growing up as well, we didn't have these entrepreneurs and speakers and, influential people during our time, when we were in high school or in college, sharing this kind of information, at least not in the masses the way it's being shared now. You had your few known ones that you knew about, one or two or three, and that was it. But, to go see them, you had to pay a ton of money at a seminar or something like that.
Yeah.
So kind of jumping off that a little bit, and kind of talking about how you kept saying about you're the type of person who something happens, you take a step back, you analyze. I think we can all agree on that. There's been a lot of that going on right now. And I want to kind of I want to know your opinion on the event space and the partying space, where a lot of these brands and companies have had to step back, probably are currently figuring out or have figured out what they need to do during a situation like this that we're going through. What are your thoughts about that? And where do you see the event space and party space moving forward during this time and after?
I think it's really a waiting game. unfortunately. I think a lot of brands, like especially the bigger brands, they have the means, the resources to produce content to kind of keep you engaged. There's several brands I can fire off that are doing like, you know, these virtual streams and stuff like that. I mean, we do it at Space, you know, feels like every other week there's a new DJ that we're live streaming. And
yeah, I try to watch most of them. They're always great.
Yeah, that's all Coloma. He's a brilliant young man, but yeah, so I don't really know, man. I think that 3 weeks ago I would have said, you know, New Year's Eve we'll all be partying, but today I doubt it. So I think that what's going to happen, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of companies and venues and promoters that unfortunately don't make it out of this. I think the smart ones and the ones that are well capitalized will. And I do think that when we are able to open again, that I do think it's going to kind of take off pretty quickly, because I don't know about you guys, but sitting around for a year,
It's pretty crazy.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
If someone were to throw an event, someone did throw an event recently. These guys did one at base camp and it did well. Like there's
Yeah, it's
people-
packed.
Yeah,
It's packed.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, for me, I did not want to be the first. I didn't want to test the market on that. I
Probably the responsible
Yeah.
way to go about it.
yeah, and
It's a little more conservative with.
yeah, it's definitely more conservative for sure. But I just felt like, you know, there were so many unknowns with this virus, and there still are.
I agree.
You know, you got to look at kind of like the timeline of events. Like we went into lockdown, right? And the cases drop. We open back up, the cases start going. So there's like a 2-week lag. You open cases, and there's another lag with deaths, and you're starting to see that trend now. And I felt that way a month ago. So I was like, listen, I don't want to be that guy that opens up, and not that there's anything wrong with the people who did. That's their decision, right? We're grown adults. You want to throw a party, you want to go to a party, that's on you. Like if you're not, if you don't know what's going on in the world, then I don't know what to tell you. But I did not want to be one of those event producers, promoters that was a part of that problem. So I just decided to take a step back, and I'm going to keep it that way until, you know, I feel it's the right time.
I think we can truly say that we probably won't really know some kind of sense of direction until after the elections.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of knowing where everything's going to start.
Yeah, that's a
moving
big
into.
factor too. I mean, look, election years are always kind of chaotic for the markets and
Yeah.
for
Real estate and all that stuff. And
Exactly.
stocks.
Yep. So with COVID, it just makes it even more chaotic. So yeah, I would agree with you on that.
I mean, during these chaotic times, though, you know, Anthony and I talk about as a brand, right? Always trying to bring more value, or, you know, when situations change and you're not on your normal schedule, you know, like trying to find ways to keep your community engaged. And, you know, you mentioned Space and doing the live streams, but even something like, you know, 420 Yoga, those live streams, you know, people love stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I always saw, you know, when you guys started that over at Space, that, like, you know, that was an amazing way to kind of bring the community together in a different way that, you know, doesn't involve, like, you know, being there at 12 in the afternoon after a long night, you know? So how much value do you personally, you know, and with the companies that you work with, do you put on, like, you know, trying to find these other avenues to keep everyone together? You know, because when you talk about branding it and you talk about the communities within branding, it really is about, you know, everyone interacting together and everyone feeling like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. So, you know, can you kind of touch upon, like, you know, why you guys, one, maybe thought that was a good idea? Because it absolutely was. Everyone loves it. But also, like, why is it so important to try to find these alternative avenues to keep people engaged?
Well, I think that it's really, at this point, you know, again, things are constantly changing feels like week, every day.
Yeah.
But I do think it's it's about keeping the heartbeat of your brand. So we can't control COVID, right? But what we can control are the content. We can control the content that we're putting out. We can control the merchandise that we're selling. These are like little moments that people can kind of connect with, and it brings them back to maybe it is a 7 a.m. morning at Space. Like, it gives them that feeling again, right? So, you know, I think that stuff like yoga, the pet adoption days that, you know, we've done over the years, I think those were really obviously great PR. They're great ways to connect with the community, but they're also like a great way to just soften your brand and diversify it a little bit. So I think we're in that spirit. That's, you know, we're going to continue on that path of doing things that follow that trend that we've already kind of established. So.
I really love that you mentioned, you know, kind of pretty much controlling what you can control.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a huge believer on that. And I feel like a lot of people definitely need to hear that over and over again because, you know, many times, you know, and even ourselves, you know, there's times where you want to control certain things that are uncontrollable.
Yeah.
And you need to realize where you need to put your energy and focus into. And it's what are you capable of controlling of? And you're always capable of controlling your own decisions and your own self, your own business. And that's where you got to put your focus in and just block out the other distractions and really, really dim down into that main important thing to really see the success come out of it. And as well, just knowing that by you doing that and putting that energy into what you can control, it's just going to make you a better individual. It's going to make your business better. It's going to make anything else that you're doing just that much better. And your focus is in a positive state, and not in a state of something where typically if you're trying to control something that's uncontrollable, it's probably something that you're not going to be able to do, and it's going to actually just, you know, shift the way you're thinking of things in a negative way.
Yeah, I mean, what you consume is really important, and what you focus on is really important. I, you know, say this to my wife all the time, like, I'm manifesting this, I'm manifesting that. It's a kind of a common term right now.
Law of attraction.
Manifest, but it's a real thing. Like, if you start thinking about whatever it is you're thinking about, you're more than likely going to take some action on that. So whether that's a business, whether that's negative energy, you know, if you're consuming some of the content that's out on Twitter, or I shouldn't call it content, but some of the things that are happening in the media right now, we'll use the Karens as an example, right? That's this word that's.
By the way, I love that they call them Karens. It's like the perfect. It's like the perfect name for exactly the type of people.
The terrible thing is my mother-in-law, her name's Karen.
Oh, no.
The sweetest woman in the world. So I feel bad for her. But, like, just as an example, if you're watching that type of stuff all day and that for some reason resonates with you, you go out to the store, you might react the same way. So I think it's really important to kind of recognize, like, what are you consuming and what are the thoughts in your head, because they do lead to action. So, yeah, it's important to note that.
Love it.
Yeah, there's always positives and negatives to, like, meme culture, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So it's super accessible right now.
Now you got TikTok going crazy.
For now.
You know,
For now.
I don't. Yeah, for now. Apparently they're gonna ban it. I don't have TikTok.
I got rid of mine.
I don't want it. I think it's cool if you use it. It's all good. Not my cup of tea. But I don't really know much about TikTok.
Yeah, I tried to get my 20-year-old sister to teach me, and she didn't even know. I'm like,
I have it.
What are you doing?
I'm not a consistent, but I just have it.
Yeah. I can barely keep up with Instagram. I have Twitter. I don't really use it a whole lot. Like I must tweet like maybe 10 times a year, and I'm usually retweeting something. And then Facebook, I try to stay off of that entirely.
Oh yeah, I feel like Facebook is like, it's
Yeah,
it's like hardcover books now. You know, they're like, nah, come on.
I'm on it and I'm off it quickly.
Yeah.
Like,
So now that we touched upon the social media topic, how would you say from your events and your parties, how much effect would you say that, especially I know that Instagram was hot during that, starting to get really hot during that time. How much effect would you say that social media did to help push and drive promotion to those parties and events?
I say it all the time. Facebook, if it weren't for Facebook, I don't know if I would have been able to eat through college. I mean, it was like, again, right? I remember like logging in for the first time, but to answer your question directly, it's had a huge impact, especially early on when you could advertise for free. You know, well, not really, but
these algorithms weren't fucking people
exactly.
up.
Yeah. I mean, we would literally send. I had a formula that worked for like a year and a half, and I'm not even kidding. To the T, I could tell you the range of like tonight I'm gonna have 600 to 800 people at my event. I'm gonna have 200 to 300, and it had all to do with the number of invites. How many people were confirmed? It really was like
legit data. Is not even nothing algorithm.
Yeah, but
legit.
It was, dude. It was everything. It had a huge impact. Also, you know, that was a time when videos weren't really popular. That's right. So we were making these incredible videos that would just go super viral, and they didn't cost us a dime. Like there are some events where we would sell it out before we even spent $1 on marketing because of the video.
That's crazy.
Which we made in-house for nothing. So I remember we did a show at University of Massachusetts, UMass. By the way, that school is crazy party town.
That's what I've heard. I've heard UMass is insane.
ZooMass is what they call it. They're animals, these kids. But we worked with the university. We rented their arena and we sold. We were only supposed to do one night. We sold it out. We crashed their website and sold out a second night.
You crashed somebody's website.
We literally,
Damn.
I remember the guy's named JR. He was like the venue manager. He's like, the website, it's not working. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why? Next
Making too much money.
It's a good problem.
Yeah, it was back online. The events had every ticket had sold out. It was nuts. So we put up another night and we sold out 2 nights. So yeah, Facebook early on was, man, it paid my bills.
So where would you say, just with the advancement of everything's going, how would you say that social media plays a role, or how has that role changed in today's, you know, before even COVID, but in the recent year of 2019, 2020, how would you say that's changed from those early days on with the early Facebook and Instagram days?
It's definitely obviously more expensive now. But I think it's just elevated. It's elevated your marketing, like the content that you put out, the design. I think it's made everybody kind of have to step it up a notch. So
definitely got to work harder.
Yeah.
You're talking to the content king over here.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise out there. So but I also think it's a great opportunity to really, I mean, think about it. Like I'm reading a book right now, Bill Graham, The Life of Bill Graham, which he was pretty much like the guy that invented, well, he didn't invent it, but he was the staple promoter, right? Like this guy was booking Hendrix, Janis Joplin, all these amazing artists back
Legends.
when they were just coming up. Yeah, he was started the Fillmore on.
So he's like the pinnacle of promoting.
He started the Fillmore on the beach here?
No.
Oh.
In the West Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he started one in New York. But he's like, he's the GOAT. So I'm reading a book, and I'm reading a book about his life. But it's just, it was a lot easier, I guess. Well, not a lot easier, but comparing myself to that period of time, like Bill Graham couldn't respond to a fan in 2 minutes with a question, right? Like I can't blast out 60,000 invites with a click of a button or pay $200 and get X number of impressions. So I think it's a great opportunity for people who are building companies, have companies, to really connect with their audience and just do it in a, you can do it instantly. Where this guy, Bill, if you had a question, what are you going to do? You're going to call?
Yeah, a landline.
I always see
the rotary phones back then.
Yeah, you go down to the Fillmore, knock on the door, you make a phone call. If someone's there, they pick up.
Maybe not.
you know, look, with all the craziness that is going on with social media, there's still a lot of, you know,
Upside.
A lot of upside.
I always say that those guys back then who were in having to promote, market, brand, those guys were savages, you know, because it was hard, you know, and I think sometimes too we forget the resources that we have today. And I know we were talking about, you know, young kids now having all these resources to these entrepreneurs, and you know, there's more and more of that every day, more accessibility to that every day. Where back then, like even then, when social media was at its infancy, it was even hard. So imagine back in the 70s, in the 60s.
You're putting out like flyers,
80s,
like newspaper clippings.
That's hustle, man. That's hustle.
That was even in the, you know, when I was in college. That's how I used to promote. Look, when I started doing this, Facebook was just coming out. It wasn't, especially early on. It wasn't
like 07, 08?
Yeah, it was not even a part of my marketing. It just, when they launched the event platform and created events, that's when I took advantage of it. But I would literally walk around with 10,000, 20,000 flyers, and I would go up to people, introduce myself, tell them about the party, and that was it. And they would come, and I would book, you know, we'd print 20,000 flyers, 10,000 to 20,000 a week. I'd drive down, pick them up, and I'd go around my campus and I'd pass them out. And it worked, you know? I mean, it was a lot more difficult. It would take me, you know, 10 hours a week versus, you know, I could get online and do it in 30 minutes, but there was also a human connection. I made a lot of relationships through that, and met a lot of people like, hey, I recognize you, whatever. So I'm glad I feel like I got a taste of both of it.
For sure. I think it's important that you mentioned that, especially to all the listeners, because, you know, sometimes it's easy to get distracted in the sense of only seeing the success of that individual and the spotlight and all the people they're hanging out with and all the stuff that they've been able to accomplish. Yet sometimes they don't hear or see the stories like this where you started from the bottom. Yeah, you know, you started with handing out shit, you know, to work your way up one day to be able to have the things you have. And I think that's the amazing part of what I love when me and Josh talk about hearing these different stories about our guest speakers that come on here and share a lot of these, you know, moments of hustle and grind and failures and obstacles that took them to where they are today. And just, it's that never give up, you know, and learning along the way process that really, really defines you and gets you there one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that sweat equity, right? And I think a lot of people, because of the times that we live in with social media, right, is like they forget that in that process of really putting in like the nitty gritty work that you do make those connections that, you know, later on, even if it's, you know, 5-10 years from now, really come full circle, you know, and allow you to kind of, or, you know, fully expand whatever you're doing. I know that's how we met at Equinox. Like, you know, he was in Coral Gables and I was on South Beach. I would have never, you know, if it weren't for social media and like the fact that we had to work together at certain times, like I would have never engaged with him, you know, and then this would have never happened.
Yeah. Yeah. The
I don't even know if Josh liked me before. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah, you were telling me to post fucking 15-second videos on Instagram. I was like, you're insane,
yeah,
dude.
He told me,
you're
like,
insane.
Dude.
I'm like, nah, dude,
Like,
I'm here to check.
He's like, I don't have time for that.
It's like
15-second. You were telling him to put what?
It was like when
versus,
when Instagram first came out with we've told the story. Sorry for everyone who's listening for the 80th time. You know, this one, like Instagram came out with like 15-second videos, and I went down to Coral Gables like to take a class or to work out, and him and another kid that worked there at the time were like recording themselves working out, and I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys look like idiots over here. And he's like, oh no, man, I'm telling you, like, this is gonna be huge. Like, they just came out with this feature for Instagram, like 15-second videos. What you got to do is like film your stuff, you edit it on this thing called iMovie. I'm like, iMovie, like, I don't know what that is. Like, I have like Microsoft Office on my computer.
This is even basic.
Yeah. And he's like, nah, man, this is gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge. I'm like, you are a fucking retard if you think that that's really how this is gonna go in the future. And now, you know what, 7 years?
Yeah, you're right.
7 years later, it's like, all right, man, I'm gonna listen to you from now.
That's why I'm the visionary.
Yeah. No, the attention span seems to be getting shorter and shorter. So, yeah.
Like, I heard our attention span now is shorter than a goldfish.
I mean, mine's probably not that far off from that to begin with, let alone with social media. It was tough as a kid to stay focused.
Yeah, I mean, look, growing up, I had a lot of trouble in school. I was constantly, and suspended. I was kicked out of school. They tried to put me on Adderall and all this stuff, whatever. But I think that, while we're on that topic, I think that, it is important to kind of like declutter your mind every now and then when you can, because there is so much coming in that, it's important to just take that step back, give yourself a breather, recalibrate, and then dive back into it.
Love it to step back and analyze.
Yeah.
Love it.
One of the things that's happened recently, along with, the kind of way that markets have been shifting, is I know that you've really made a big change in your career. And, you just announced that you became a big part in a major event company. So why don't we kind of touch on that before we wrap everything up? Because, I mean, that's a huge, huge accomplishment for you being, named to this new position that you're in.
Yeah. So I left Livestyle, which is the company that had owned, that had acquired Life in Color from us years ago. And I took some time off. Obviously, also around that time, I, with my partners at Space, we had sold the majority stake to Live Nation and Insomniac. So really I was like,
huge pickup there.
Yeah, it was well timed, but it was really just like a great time for me to just breathe. I'd been going so hard for literally 10 years that I just was like, you know what, I need some time. Like, I need to just relax and figure out what I want to do. And I didn't know exactly what it was, but I really enjoyed through owning Space. Like, I really loved the concept of venue. So a mentor, a friend of mine, we started, talking, this guy, Jacob Smid, that I'm now, working with, but just started talking to him about some stuff. Like, thinking about buying a venue or a couple of venues and this festival, that idea. So that idea turned into, a business plan and some more concrete stuff. And he was like, look, I think these are really great ideas. I want to introduce you to somebody, a guy by the name of Matt Gibbons, which is the company's named after him, MRG Live. And MRG Live they're basically the largest independent concert promoter in Canada. They own a bunch of venues and do some festivals and things like that. So he said, I want to introduce you to Matt. So they flew down here to Miami. We had a great time. I flew up to Toronto and met some of their team. And yeah, we basically decided that we wanted to form a relationship. So we announced it, about a month ago. But basically with my company, my brand, BLNK CNVS, we're going to form a partnership there. So I'm going to help them, with the electronic music in Canada throughout their venues. And then on the flip side of that, they're now expanding into the United States. So I'm going to lead their expansion in the Southeast. So we're going to start in Florida and looking at a couple other markets too. But it's pretty exciting. It's what I love to do. So we're going to be, launching some new projects, festivals, not just related to music as well, but some different experiences. And then we're also looking at restoring, renovating, managing venues as well. So we're looking at that all over the state.
Congrats, first of all, on that. And,
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Big stuff right there. And just to kind of want to know, what's your timetable look like for getting some of these events going? Like, what do you guys have planned out? If you can say out, I don't know, but what is that looking for going down in the future?
Yeah, a lot of it I can't really talk about. But I'm hoping that we can get back to some stuff in March of next year. I mean, for example, Music Week, I'll do close to 20 events that week.
All epic.
I definitely got to go.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, once this podcast blows up, like, I'm taking you to fucking Space. We're going nuts.
I haven't done
cool.
anything that crazy in like at least a little bit over a year and a half, because with my little one, it's been tough with my little
How you have a
Yeah, little baby. She's 17 months. So imagine we've been
awesome, man.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm about to be a girl dad too. I have my wife's 20 weeks pregnant.
Oh, congrats, man. I'm gonna tell you, it's life changing.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit over here in the corner and just
it's really lit some tremendous fire under my ass, and I've got to say, like, you know, not for anything, you're not wishing that, you know, any of this has ever happened with the COVID, but I gotta say this has probably been the best growth experience and the biggest growth I've seen in my business and myself during this time, and as well been able to get amazing moments that I've been able to cherish with my little one through her main growth developments as a baby, seeing her walk and and seeing little words and you know, just seeing these mannerisms, and it's amazing that, you know, I was able to get that time at the same time, you know, not have to worry about, you know, finances and all that stuff and still enjoy her and have that time with her. It's like a how do I put it, a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know,
she makes a couple features on our podcast. You can hear her in the background and the
the
original audio, the original audio ones.
Back in when COVID first hit, you can hear in the back babbling a few stuff or little screams in the back.
That's cool.
So congrats again, man, on both the business and the baby.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, when we get back to it, you guys are more than welcome to.
Yeah, we'll definitely definitely come through. I mean, you know, I'm always there.
For Music Week, that's a crazy week because on top of the club, which, you know, at this point I don't really have a lot to do with the club, right? I still own my shares and obviously super connected to the venue itself and the people and love everyone there, but I'm not there like operating the place. But that week I have other events that I do, some pool parties, warehouse parties, but yeah, it's I'm hoping March, you know, 2021 is when we can get back to it, but I got to be honest, even that's starting to look really doubtful. Yeah. So
yeah, well, let's hope so, because, you know, I'm starting to get that itch again, man.
Yeah, we all are. We all are.
Yeah, especially living down here. You know, it's like ingrained into your lifestyle.
I know.
Now it's like, you know, you bust your ass for 3 months. I finally go out. I'll fucking go hard as fuck, and then I can like get right back to work. And now it's like, shit, I just need to like keep working hard. Like,
yeah,
you know, I need to find some new releases, like meditate more or something.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of the word that everyone's using is pent up demand, but I think everyone's definitely ready to let loose a little bit. So hopefully
I agree.
Hopefully that'll happen. It sounds like there's some good some front runners for vaccines and things like that. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of really smart people that really care, that are working on this. So we said the word manifest earlier, but I say it all the time. I tell my wife, I'm like, all right, come November, there's going to be a vaccine. We're good. Like, that's happening, right? And it's going to change the whole energy of the world, and we're never going to look back. So I'm sticking to that. I hope that's the case.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I'm not going to be the first one getting the vaccine. I'm going to let a few people get it first, see what happens.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, but they've been showing, you know, some pretty positive results with some of the trials, with some of the human trials. So, you know, we'll see, man. A lot's up in the air, but it sounds like you have, you know, a lot of amazing stuff going on, you know, with you and your wife, you know, having a baby soon, and the new position with your job. I know, you know, you're going to really grab it by the reins and take, you know, full hold and do everything you can. I mean, your track record speaks for itself with everything you've done, you know, U.S. wide and especially here in Miami. You know, I know everyone that I know that knows you, you know, really respects you. I really respect you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, same here.
You know, it's this city is not a city that you find a lot of humble people in, you know? Yeah. So when you meet a very genuine, humble person, you know, you gotta make sure that, you know, you bring them in and you know, you hear their story and you learn from them and you help them out whenever you can. So, you know, in the future when you have events and stuff, we'd love to have you back on and, you know, promote all of that stuff. If there's anything that we can ever do for you, please
definitely
let us know.
Likewise. Yeah. And it was funny running into you yesterday at the house. You'll have to, I got to get another workout session in with you. I know you're like the king of mobility, so
Yeah, let's do it.
That's right.
I
Do it, I'm
follow.
always
I've
down.
definitely,
This man will make you feel good.
Yeah.
You hear that, ladies?
I'll no, but it's, I mean, the workout aspect is something that like I'm learning from you as well through your socials.
I
And
appreciate
just,
that.
seeing that and like the sweat check, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's all him right there.
Yeah. Was that you?
That's all him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's all him.
No, but like 11 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I get up super early, but 11 a.m. and it's like, man, I'm struggling to work out today, and I'll see you guys post stuff, and it gets me motivated. Like, all right,
Let's go.
let's make this a habit.
It's go time.
So it's
Yeah.
go time. So
Thanks,
I,
man.
I appreciate that as well.
I know he has one more final question before he
Yeah,
before he asks it. Why don't you tell people where? I know you said that you're not really huge on social media, but where can they find you? Where can they stay up to date on the stuff that you guys are going to be doing with all the promotional work?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram is what I use the most. It's just Eric Fuller. I have Twitter. It's at Dayglo Eric. I don't really use that often.
Oh, you kept the original name.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I did. I was lucky enough to get the handle at Eric Fuller on Instagram, but that took me like 2 years to get that.
I bet.
I literally like found the kid that had it and just worked out a deal with him. He actually loved like electronic music, so I gave him tickets to this festival, got him backstage,
Oh, great.
gave him like a few $100. Anyway, not that it matters, but you can find me there.
I almost got mine. Almost. This one guy had his account inactive. Anthony Mendez reached out to him a few times. Finally reached out, and he's like, yeah, dude, I really don't use it. And then he's like, it's going to be this much. At the time, I was just like, this was like 4 years ago. He was like, it's like $1,500,
Oh, wow.
$2,000. First it was $1,500, and then I was like, can we do it for? I was even willing to pay him like $1,000 because I was thinking the future,
Yeah.
And then he's like, thinking about it, it's gonna be $2,000, and
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
motherfucker.
oh, shit. And then I was just like, I don't have that kind of money right now. But then now I think I'm like, shit, I would have paid those $2,000 if I had the money.
Yeah, now that he knows who you are, now you're fucked. You're
But
somebody like, all right, 10 G's.
Yeah.
But it's funny because now he's active. He actually follows me. He's like, bro, I love all your stuff.
Yeah.
He engages with
Well,
me all the
Anthony,
time.
if you're listening out there, let's make a deal, man.
Yeah.
I'll throw in some tickets to.
Yeah, well,
There we go.
bring you on the
shows.
podcast.
Yeah, but you can find me there on those socials, and then my company is BLNK Canvas Presents, and the entity that we just partnered with, and that I'm going to be leading the expansion in the U.S. is MRG Live. So we haven't put out the North American socials yet, but I'll post about that eventually. So
Yeah, we'll help promote it and
Well,
share
for
that
sure.
for sure.
cool.
So I'm going to ask you 2 questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, first question. What's the craziest and wildest shit you've ever seen at one of your events?
It's all right. It's gonna be on YouTube, so it's X-rated. You're fine.
Man, I've seen a lot. It's probably not the craziest, but it's definitely one of the coolest / craziest. So our first time in New York City, we did Webster Hall, which
Epic venue.
yeah, it's a notoriously popular venue. It's been in New York forever, but anyway, it was our first time in New York, and we sold it out. And the party was so in such demand that the police came and actually shut the party down. We had kids lined up all over the street. Like I remember I was upstairs at the event, and I'm hearing over the radio like we're having issues at the door, we're at capacity, and I'm like I'm gonna go downstairs and check it out. So I go down there, and I walk out of the front door to look at the street, and all the way up the block, like for 2 blocks, there's just kids like dressed in all white, ready to go. I mean, there was 2,000 kids inside, probably another, I don't know, a few thousand outside. So that to me was a pretty, like, I really remember that moment. I actually couldn't get back in the venue.
Oh, shit. You couldn't get back into your own place.
Yeah, I couldn't get back into the party.
That's pretty crazy.
They had cops there, and they shut it. And to this day, there's only been us and Kanye West that shut down Webster Hall. So I think that's
Dude.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's epic.
That's a great
Yeah.
great company right there.
That's epic. I'm glad I asked you that question.
Yeah. So, there's definitely some other crazier stories, but I'm not gonna go into that.
I'm sure.
We'll leave it at that. Yeah.
So last one. I know you talk about a lot about taking a step back and analyzing. What's another biggest piece of advice you can leave off? You can leave here today for all our listeners.
Business or life or
Just in general.
Anything you want. Any biggest piece of advice?
Like something that's resonated with you,
Your
that
growth.
you remind yourself of, daily or, weekly that keeps you going.
Man, I have like a motto in my life, and it's I actually tattooed it on my rib because it was so important. And I always say not without labor. So I think that, just remind everybody that things take work and they take labor, and you shouldn't be afraid of that. I think that would probably be my takeaway for everybody is just, if you have something, if you want something, whether it's, a beautiful girl sitting across at the bar, like go approach her.
Hell yeah.
Go be a gentleman about it, but go after it. If it's a business, work your butt off. If the world will reward you if you put in the work and take the risk. And then the last thing that I've been thinking about a lot is just have compassion for people, especially in the world we live in today. You don't know where somebody's been or where they're from or what their situation's been like. So don't be so quick to judge people, no matter their political affiliation or the color of their skin or their religion or whatever it is. I think it's really important that we all remember that at the end of the day, we're all on this planet together. We're human beings, and we all have, our story and background. So just have compassion for people and just be a good person. So.
Guys, you heard it. Get to work hard,
Get your hands dirty.
and have compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
you guys.
man.
It's
Thanks.
awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.